Conservatism. Conservatism, as the name suggests, seeks to preserve traditional values rooted in Western culture. Conservatives typically emphasize the importance of the nuclear family, organized religion, the military, and strong property rights. The ideology favors continuity and stability, viewing long-standing institutions and social structures as worth maintaining rather than rapidly changing. Liberalism. Liberalism is often regarded as one of the most dominant ideologies of modern history. It is built on the idea that individuals possess inherent rights and that government authority must be derived from the consent of the governed. Core liberal principles include equality before the law, free markets, competitive elections between multiple political parties, separation of powers among branches of government, separation of religion from the state, and a constitutionally protected set of fundamental rights such as freedom of speech, press, assembly, religion, and privacy. Moderatism. Moderatism operates within what is known as the Overton window, the range of political ideas considered acceptable by the mainstream population. Moderates generally avoid extreme positions. In many cases, they are politically disengaged but still possess basic political awareness and tend to support pragmatic, broadly acceptable solutions. Capitalism. Capitalism is an economic system based on private ownership of the means of production and their operation for profit. Its defining characteristics include private property, voluntary exchange, competition, division of labor, and cooperation through markets. Economic decisions are largely driven by supply and demand rather than central planning. Socialism. Socialism is an umbrella term encompassing a wide range of ideologies. In its classical form, socialism advocates worker ownership of the means of production and democratic control over workplaces. Modern socialist approaches often support high taxation of the wealthy, nationalization of key industries, strong labor protections, and various forms of social or collective ownership. Syndicalism. Syndicalism is a socialist ideology that emphasizes labor unions as the primary vehicle for social change. It promotes the organization of workers into decentralized unions, known as syndicates, and supports the use of strikes and direct action to advance workers' interests. In a post-capitalist society, syndicates would collectively govern economic activity through federations or councils. Corporatism. Corporatism advocates organizing society into functional groups based on professions or economic sectors such as agriculture, industry, or the military. Workers, employers, and the state cooperate within these sectors to regulate the economy through negotiation and coordination. Corporatism is distinct from corporatocracy, which refers to political systems dominated by large corporations. Libertarianism. Libertarianism places individual liberty at the center of political philosophy. It seeks to maximize personal autonomy and minimize state power. Libertarians support equality before the law and fundamental rights such as life, liberty, and property, while advocating for a very limited government with minimal intervention in personal and economic affairs. Separatism. Separatism, also known as secessionism, aims to establish a new sovereign political entity separate from an existing state. This can involve the creation of an independent country, autonomous region, or distinct government based on cultural, ethnic, political, or economic differences. Communism. Communism is centered on collective ownership of the means of production, distribution, and exchange. Goods are allocated according to need rather than market mechanisms. In a theoretical communist society, private property, social classes, money, and the state itself no longer exist. Feminism. Feminism seeks to establish political, economic, social, and personal equality between genders. It holds that many societies have historically prioritized male perspectives and disadvantaged women. Feminist movements work to challenge gender stereotypes and improve educational, professional, and legal opportunities for women. Anarchism. Anarchism advocates for a society without rulers or centralized authority. It emphasizes freedom, voluntary cooperation, and self-governance, proposing stateless societies organized through free associations rather than enforced hierarchies. Environmentalism. Environmentalism, often referred to as green politics, encompasses ideologies that prioritize environmental protection in public policy. This includes reducing carbon emissions, preventing pollution, conserving natural resources, and promoting sustainable practices to protect ecosystems. Populism. Populism centers on appealing to the perceived will of the people, asserting that political power should reflect popular demands. It is not tied to a specific ideology and can exist across the political spectrum. Populism often frames politics as a struggle between ordinary citizens and a corrupt or detached elite and is commonly associated with democratic systems. Republicanism. Republicanism supports a non-hereditary system of government in which political authority rests with the citizens. It opposes monarchies and favors governance through elected representatives within a republic. Progressivism. Progressivism argues that traditions inherited from the past should not be treated as sacred and must be reevaluated in light of social progress. It prioritizes reform and adaptation over preservation, often positioning itself in contrast to conservatism. Imperialism. Imperialism traditionally refers to the expansion of a state's power through military, political, or economic domination of other territories. Historically, it was widely accepted and often justified by claims that dominant nations brought development or stability to those they controlled, despite widespread exploitation and oppression. Egalitarianism. Egalitarianism is a school of thought that prioritizes social equality. It holds that all individuals should receive equal rights, opportunities, and treatment under the law regardless of background or status. Transhumanism. Transhumanism promotes the use of advanced technology to enhance human physical and cognitive abilities. Its long-term goals include overcoming disease, aging, and biological limitations, potentially achieving radically extended lifespans or forms of technological augmentation. Communitarianism. Communitarianism emphasizes the importance of the community over extreme individualism. It critiques the traditional left-right political divide and argues that policies from across the spectrum can be combined to serve the common good, warning that unchecked individualism can undermine social cohesion. Authoritarianism. Authoritarianism describes political systems characterized by strong centralized power, limited political freedoms, and restricted civil liberties. Opposition is often suppressed, and authority is concentrated in a single ruler or governing body, as seen in many historical monarchies and modern autocracies. Fascism. Fascism is an authoritarian ideology that prioritizes unity, order, and national strength over individual freedoms. It rejects democratic pluralism, embraces centralized power, promotes ultranationalism and militarism, suppresses opposition, and supports a hierarchical social order in which individual interests are subordinated to the perceived needs of the nation or state. Nazism, National Socialism. Nazism is an extremist form of fascism defined by its racial ideology. It asserts the supposed superiority of the Aryan race and promotes ultranationalism, anti-Semitism, and eugenics. Those deemed undesirable were dehumanized, persecuted, and systematically murdered. Nazism also targeted people with disabilities, political opponents, and homosexuals, treating entire groups as unworthy of life,